wait for the link to come in and we'll go. No, not happening. Let's go to grab the YouTube link. Okay, and that's today's okay, sorry about that. Where are we? Hold up. I think I wanted, oops, that's something I didn't do. Let's export that. Sorry, I am running a little late. I wanted to prepare the requirements because we want to do a bit of rejigging on them, and I forgot to finish my piece with the slides. Okay. That's the wrong one. I got the wrong one. Let's try that again. Yeah, let's go to capstone and get the capstone slides. Okay, so we've got a couple of things to do today, and I'm not sure we'll get through them all. Welcome back. So that's where we are, and I want to get to a place where next week we can do a down select. Okay, we're not quite there yet, but I think after today's session we should be in a pretty good shape to do the down select. If you notice in the capstone materials chat channel on Discord, there's a link for a board. I will want you to get to there eventually, but we've got a couple of other things to do. There's at least two videos outstanding, and Anthony, I think, I don't know, I haven't checked recently. Are you able to present live, or do you, I haven't checked whether you've uploaded something recently in terms of your video pitch? Okay, so yep.
I still haven't really made a decision, honestly. I'm so torn between ideas.
Okay, I need well,
Yeah, I know.
You can talk about one live in a few minutes. Okay, I'll show Jacob's and Michael Paloka's, and then we can hear yours. Okay. So we're still up in this quadrant where we're trying to move to the next quadrant, but we're not there yet. We don't have enough information. I don't know whether anybody's interested in that, but there's some motion there. This is the grid I'm going to be using for grading. I haven't graded anybody's yet. I thought I'd wait until we see everybody's before I issue grades in the video pitch. And now there are two that I have in the can, and I'm going to show them. One of them is, well, the first one is Michael Paloka, and I'll show the video, and then I'll get you to answer questions. Okay?
Sounds good.
Okay, so let's go with, I think I just got to do that.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Michael. My project idea is creating an affordable upgrade to your regular refrigerator to turn into a smart fridge for somewhere like in a price range of about $100. Probably it's going to end up being a little bit more than that, but we'll see what happens depending on what components are used. So I came about this idea because I've been really into the smart home ecosystem devices and putting them throughout my house. I've noticed some of the bigger appliances, they're not as convenient to get as something smaller like light bulbs or door handles and that kind of thing. So I thought, why not try to create a device probably based off Raspberry Pi where we can just quickly install it into our fridge and have not the complete smart device or smart refrigerator you see at the market, but something similar for an affordable price. This is definitely something that's more geared towards the homeowner or super nerds like us who are trying to come up with cool ideas for a capstone. But my main focus was to base it off a Raspberry Pi and attach camera modules to it so we can have a live view of the fridge at all times. And that will be connected to an app on your phone that you can just quickly access. And whenever you're at the store, if you don't know what you have at home, you can quickly just go on and look. Or you can look at an inventory list based off the barcodes on the produce you buy at the store. So when you come home, you just scan them and they'll be added to the inventory. Yeah, so if anyone wants to join, help along and move it forward, I'm open to any ideas.
Okay, thanks, Michael. Does anybody have any questions for Michael? So, Michael, what are you trying to achieve? What's the main function of the smart fridge appliance? What's it aimed at doing?
Well, the main issue that I have is how many times do people go to the store and they don't know what they got because they can't remember what they have at home.
Okay.
So with the smart fridge, if they have that live feed of what's in the fridge or the inventory of what they have, it'll just be a quick thing that they can go on their phone and find out.
Okay, so it's primarily inventory management.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. So I had two comments. One of them is they shut down, which was a real shame. But I used to have this little device called a Haiku, Hiku, and it was basically a little USB rechargeable barcode scanner that had a magnet on it. And all you did is when you ran out of something, you used the Haiku to scan the barcode, and it would send the item information to the associated app, so you could build up a shopping list, which
Do they
was.
still make them?
I don't know. The company themselves shut down, and I don't think the app works anymore, which was a real shame because it was very useful. So it's, but I'll see if I can find the information about it. I don't know whether it's directly applicable to what you're doing, but it's sort of in the same area.
Yep.
Okay. Great. Thank you. So next up is Jacob. And let's see what we can have. Now I'm going to turn me off. And
Are you tired of not being able to buy computer hardware online because of scalpers? Well, AIBot is the right software for you. In the past year, there has been a spike in scalpers towards computer hardware, which has led to consumers not being able to enjoy new products. AI bot is designed to detect shoppers that have put in many requests to check out an item minutes before the set time for release and cancel their request. This then would allow a greater possibility for consumers to gain their products without needing to pay the typical scalped price. The reason behind this thought is that these items are being released for the casual consumer trying to gain a great experience using the product. Ever since the start of COVID and the loss of employment, people have created many ways to create income, but in ways that affects the typical consumer.
Okay. So,
I think my editing kind of messed up the whole video process when I submitted it because I checked it this morning, so that might have been the issue right there also.
okay, that's all right. So,
But that's basically just a quick summary of what exactly I wanted the idea to do.
okay. Okay, so it's a website or an app that lets you get access.
So it's basically it'd basically be like an anti-cheating software for like video games, but instead it'd be for a website, so it would detect people who are trying to use botted softwares to check out items faster.
Okay, cool.
I'm not
And-
exactly sure how to word it properly.
That's okay. No, it's. I mean that's part of the thing with ideation, right? It starts out very very nebulous, and you've got to try and move it forward by making it more specific and trying to express the idea more clearly, particularly to other people. So would this? The person who would use it would be somebody who is interested in buying PC components or
Well, it could be really any component at that, but typically the past graphics card and CPU components have been basically scalped instantly when they've been releasing at any kind of release date, which allows no one to be able to purchase it.
right.
Such as like the NVIDIA RTX 3060 cards that have released. They were at an MSR price of $400, but now they're selling on eBay everywhere for about $800. So it's like that's what I'm trying to fix right now, to help everyone out being able to buy products that are not doubled the price by scalpers, basically.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Does anybody have any questions for Jacob? Okay. Well, we'll leave it there. Thank you. So, Anthony, do you want to quickly give us a pitch while we're here?
I don't have a webcam.
That's okay.
I was-
Just voice is fine.
Okay, so I ideally want to create a security camera that allows motion through a gimbal and potentially motion sensing. I don't know how advanced that would be, but I want a security camera that is a suppressive tool and a passive tool that is used to prevent unwarranted visitors with a greater range of motion. I personally want to keep my family safe and give us a chance of catching something before it happens. So this camera would send a text message as soon as it did detect motion or a notification of some sort, sending it to a device or through email. Yeah.
And what do you? So the main target audience is for a homeowner or somebody who.
Correct.
Right. Okay. And what's the sort of target price? Do you have an idea of what you think they might spend on? You might spend on it?
Probably close to $100.
Okay. Okay. Does anybody else have any questions for Anthony? Okay. Thank you, Anthony. Let's leave it there. So I think that's all the pictures. I will get them all graded. Probably won't be today. It'll probably be after tomorrow afternoon sometime. So with that, we are done with the initial individual work, and I'm wanting to to work on. In fact, let me change what I'm showing. I should actually be showing that so you can actually see what I'm talking about. So, like I said, we're done mostly with the individual work. I do want to have another round of attempts at requirements. But the next main step will be to put together a proposal in teams. And like I said, we'll aim to do the down select into 3 or 4 groups next week. And I think there's enough commonality between a lot of these, a couple of outliers, but we'll see how we go as far as keeping everybody happy or engaged with the projects you're going to be working on. So I talked to this last week. I'm not going to talk about it specifically now too much. I will talk more about it next week when you, as teams, you're going to actually have to come up with the draft project proposal. And not next week, but the week after, we'll basically spend time in each team trying to put together all of this stuff. I'm not that interested in the financial feasibility. I do want costings, but this isn't actually a marketing exercise, so we probably won't need to do a revenue side of the equation. We do need to do the costing side of the equation. These are some of the questions you've got to ask if you're going to make sure that the thing is actually technically or physically doable. And there's a few. I worked on a project once, and the first question we had to answer was it physically possible? And so I spent 2 or 3 months doing a completely jury-rigged prototype of the system to see whether it was even possible. And I don't know whether is it over there? So the system was a solder paste inspection system, and I don't know if you know the electronics manufacture process, but you start off with the bare printed circuit board. Printed circuit boards have been manufactured before this process starts, and the first thing that happens is you get a screen print, or you get the solder paste that's screen printed on top of the board, and it just sits there, and then you get a chip shooter or some other pick and place machine, and it puts the components on top of the solder paste. And then the third part of the process is you add you put it through a reflow oven, and the solder melts and sticks everything, and that works. So my job was to try and do 3D solder paste measurement on the first part, and we weren't sure whether it was possible. So the first thing I actually started trying to image. Let me make myself a bit bigger. There we go. The first thing I actually started to try and image was that that's actually, you can't really see it. It's a 5p Irish coin, and the image I managed to get out of it was that picture there. Right? See the 5p? That's actually a height map of the 5p, which is actually down in the it's actually a bull on the the coin, and there's 5p just underneath the. And I spent about 3 months trying to get to that that place, just to show we could do it. And then the issue was to actually do it in your manufacturing in a manufacturing place, and we actually did it. That was the machine, the whole thing, and then inside the machine was that that rig. That's an XY robot, and mounted on top of the XY robot, the blue thing is a 3D camera, and then there's behind, you can't quite see it, but behind the blue thing there's a grey box, which is a normal black and white camera, and we're able to do sampled 3D, which means we couldn't measure every sort of paste deposit on the board, but we could do the small ones, which were the critical ones, the ones that went wrong most often. And the 2D camera, we could do 2D solder paste inspection of the whole board to tell the presence absence, whether there was actually solder paste there or not, where it was supposed to be or where it wasn't supposed to be. It was kind of fun. So physically possible is good. I don't think any of your projects are physically impossible. I think I saw one about having a 15-pound drone. That's a pretty big drone, but there are drones that big, right? Plenty of them around. So the thing I want to talk about today, and you've all, thank you for putting in all of your shall statements. Okay, I've given some feedback on some of them. There are a rake of them in overnight, and I haven't managed to grade those ones yet, but I will. I will probably get you to resubmit them for next week, based on the chat we're going to have now. So have a look at it. And so one of the things that, and it's a comment on just about everybody's submission, is it's hard sometimes to distinguish between a functional requirement, what the thing does, and a cross-functional, or other people call it non-functional requirement, which is a performance or an ability or a state of being of the system. Okay. And is some of the ones that people put in functional requirements are, I think, actually cross-functional, and some of them that were put in cross-functional are actually functional. So just be aware of that. It's like I said, sometimes it's a bit of a grey area to decide which way to go. But yeah, it's that's the main comment I have about them. I'm going to go back. I'm not going to talk too much about this. Just a reminder that one thing I'm going to get you to do in your project proposals is to draw something like this for your system, where we have actors, right? The roles or the people who interact with your system. We have a scope box, or a subject boundary, sometimes it's called. We have use cases, which is a high-level functional requirement. And we have the messages or the interfaces between the actors and the functions or the use cases. And it's a stupidly simple diagram, but it is often very worthwhile writing it down, particularly because you've got to be a little terse in terms of each of these use cases has to have a verb in them, right? and it tends to help with the understanding what the system is doing and who it's doing it for. Yeah, I talked about that before. Okay, so one thing I've done is I've taken all of your requirements, all your shell statements, and I put them into this this presentation. What I've also done is I've replaced the name of the thing that you were developing, security system, smart fridge appliance, drone. I've replaced all of those things with just the words "the system," and I've usually capitalized it, but right, so that makes it a little harder to see what this thing is trying to do. And that's a good thing, because that tells me that there's vagueness, uncertainty in the way the sentences are written. Okay? You shouldn't be able to infer from a single shell statement what the thing is, because some of them could be applicable to lots and lots of different things, right? The system shall be installable on any existing home. That's a perfectly valid requirement, and it's perfectly valid in a lot of different products, right? Anything you could think about installing at home, that would be a requirement. I think this one is actually not a functional requirement, though, right? One of the ways to think about non-functional requirements is if you can use it in terms of a word ending in ility or ability, right? And this is, I could write this sentence in terms of install ability, right? So this is to me, this first one is an ility statement, which means it's a cross-functional. It's about the whole system. It's not just about one particular function that the system does. Another thing that I suggest you do for requirements is never have a conjunction in them. And by conjunction, I mean the word and or the word or. All right. So here on the next one, let's just change color, right? We've got the word or. If you feel the need to do that, it means there are two different requirements there. So that one should be split up into the system shall be able to connect to the internet via Ethernet connection, and the system shall be able to connect to the internet via Wi-Fi. If you only need to connect via one of them, then that's a third requirement. Okay, the system shall only need one connection to the internet. Okay, so have a read through some of these. The system shall contain the ability. Again, there's an ility word that is more of a a non-functional requirement. Somebody's not on mute. So,
That was me. I apologize.
no worries. Thanks, Jacob. Okay. The system shall provide quick access to an emergency contact configured by the user. So that is a functional requirement, but I'm looking at this quick access, and to me that's saying there should be a corresponding non-functional or cross-functional or performance, right? How quick is quick? Detection from the system shall be sent to a mobile device. That all looks good. The system shall be able to capture pictures via the mobile app, and again, and or try and avoid using and or in a requirement. You just means you need another requirement with the other option. Okay, the system shall have a night mode feature. I could think of all sorts of things that might mean, so it's not very specific, right? So that's a bit too vague. What does night mode mean for the thing you're building? The system shall only record when detection sensed. That's pretty good, although I would want to know record what. Again, be precise. The system shall allow configuration of the drone. Yeah. The system shall be user-friendly. Now, again, this is two things. This is probably non-functional or cross-functional, and I don't like the term user-friendly simply because it means very different things in very different contexts. Okay, so for your particular system, we've got to get at what does user-friendly mean, right? It could mean one thing that websites use to infer user-friendliness is the number of clicks somebody needs to make in order to buy something or book something, right? The whole thing about Amazon one click is targeted at being user-friendly with a real business reason for doing it, because if they can get people to one click to buy stuff, that bumps up their sales, right? The system shall mount on a rechargeable station. The system shall use a Raspberry Pi no matter what, or else. In general, requirements are not about technology. They can be, and the Wi-Fi and the Ethernet, that's probably okay. But this is about how. And requirements are not about how, they're about what. Okay, so you don't want to infer, you don't want to apply technology. I think I told you last time, one of the last cohort I took through decided that a Raspberry Pi Zero had to be in their requirement list. And it turned out that wasn't a sensible device to use because it didn't have enough I/O for them. So being too specific too early is often doesn't necessarily lead to the best outcomes, or at least it leads to rework, which we want to try and avoid. Okay, the system shall utilize honeypots. Again, it's a bit vague for me. I realize it's in the networking context, but I could be Pooh Bear and I could all of a sudden see all sorts of honeypots ready for me to stick my paw into, right? The system shall counter trace attacks. That's okay. I would probably want a definition of trace attacks associated with that requirement, but the requirement itself is okay. The system shall log every IP address. That is a little too vague for me. I could log every IP address without being connected to the network. I can just write down 0.0.0.0.0, 0.0.0.0.1, 0.0.0.0.2, right? Maybe they're not valid IP addresses, but I can enumerate all possible IP addresses, and that is logging every IP address, right? So that needs more specificity. The system shall be fast acting. That's not a functional requirement. That's a performance requirement, and it needs a number. If as soon as you see the word fast, that doesn't mean anything. Fast means different things to different people in different contexts. So you need a number. And it's a cross-functional requirement. The system shall reduce stress, the system shall reduce traffic, the system shall reduce money spent on gas, the system shall reduce wasted time. So I like all of these, except they have very little to do with being specific. I can reduce stress by allowing everybody to have a massage once every day. I can reduce traffic by digging up all the roads. I can reduce money spent on gas by closing all the gas stations. I can reduce wasted time, I don't know, by not lecturing on CET497. Maybe hopefully I'm not wasting your time, but maybe you think otherwise. The system shall notify drivers of empty parking space. That is more like a requirement. The system shall notify drivers of how many empty parking spaces there are per level. That also is an okay requirement. I'd probably want to say something about when, right? I think one of the, like on entry to the car park or something like that. But they're much better requirements. The system shall pick up different things from the floor. Okay, a little vague. I wouldn't want the system picking up my children or me. So you might want to narrow it down a little bit. The system shall detect smoke in the house. That's okay. The system shall take pictures and videos. Again, and the system shall take pictures, the system shall take videos. Right? The system shall look after my pets. I could think of some bad ways to look after pets, and I could think of good ways to look after pets. You might want to be a bit more specific about what that means. The system shall fetch things for me. Oh yeah, I could really love it if the system could fetch me a coffee. That's okay. The system shall run on a virtual machine. Again, that's technology, and we tend to avoid mentioning technology in requirements. The system shall present itself as a vulnerable Windows machine. Now this is mentioning technology, but if this is for a networking sort of honeypot project, then it's actually, this is one case where you probably do need to mention technology, right? Because you might also want to have the system shall present itself as a vulnerable Linux machine or a vulnerable macOS machine. Okay, or a vulnerable Android device or a vulnerable iOS device. The system shall log the attacker's keystrokes. Possible, maybe not actually on their keyboard, but if they're doing something. The system shall respond to port scans. Again, you might want to be a bit more specific about what the response is. Right? What is the response? Okay. The system shall keep an inventory of food produce. The system shall have 2 cameras which will allow for pictures to be taken of fridge inventory. The system shall be able to run off a rechargeable battery. The system shall have a connection to a secure network. Oh, the system shall have ability to scan produce barcodes for inventory. The system shall send reminders on when certain produce is going to expire. So all of those are actually pretty good. The only one I would question, because this is a whole system requirement, I probably think that's a cross-functional, right? It's not as clear as the other ones, but because it's whole system, it doesn't look at a single function of the system. I think that might be a cross-functional requirement. And the system shall prevent scalpers checkouts. The system shall notice request floods. The system shall scan malware. The system shall set checkout security checks. The system shall utilize the ODB2 port with the information being sent to an internal device, preferably a tablet. I'd probably rewrite that and just not have the preferably. Make it explicit that you want tablet support. I'd even go as far as saying whether you want iPad or Android tablet support. Again, that's mentioning technology, but I think it's a place where technology probably should be mentioned. The system shall send information to an external device capable of managing the information and translating the data for the viewer to comprehend easily. Again, that's and is a conjunction. Split that up into 2 separate requirements. Any graphs generated by the system shall be transferable to Excel for easy adjustment of data. That's okay. So now, any questions about those functional requirements? Dead silence. That's okay. So let me just quickly go through these because I do want to get onto the exercise. The system shall cost less than $200 to purchase and install. I understand why you're using and. There's a phrase that's used to avoid using and, which is total cost of ownership. Okay, and then you might also want to quantify what part of the cost is purchase and what part of the cost is installation. But that's okay. There's some numbers on the video, that's good. Telling the difference between threats, that's probably good. This is probably a functional requirement. The system shall contain a database where it recognizes the layout of the user's property. again, database I tend to avoid using technology. The system obviously needs to know about the layout of the user's property, and we need to get to the nub of why that is needed and how it's input, right? And that will certainly generate requirements. The system shall record for full duration of detection. I'd put a maximum on that, right? Maybe even a minimum. The system shall work off of rechargeable batteries. That's okay. The system shall weigh no more than 15 pounds. The system shall be able to fly for a minimum of 10 minutes. They're all good. They're all good functional, cross-functional requirements. The system shall keep logs for 60 days. The system shall deliver requested log in less than 30 seconds. System shall counterattack in less than a minute. The system shall have no capacity limit. That's a little hard to engineer sometimes. The system shall send sensor within seconds. Parking spot becomes available. The system shall be sensitive to motion to recognize if parking space is occupied or empty. The system shall not be affected by weather and or day and night. The system shall store 1 terabyte of pictures and videos. Again, and I'd probably, rather than say pictures and videos, I just replace those both with media. The system shall alert of smoke in the house. Again, that's probably a functional requirement. It's a function that the system does. System shall send an alert to the security staff whenever an attacker enters the environment. Again, that's probably a functional. System shall keep logs for 1 year, cross-functional. The system shall store logs as text files in a local directory. Probably a bit too technical. The system shall be able to listen on multiple ports simultaneously. That sounds like a functional requirement, but multiple ports, you'd want to give it a number, and then then you'd probably have an associated cross-functional or performance requirement. The system shall wait for 5 minutes after a connection has been made before allowing another connection in order to prevent a large number of connections in a short period of time. I'd probably split that up into two, a functional requirement and then a cross-functional requirement to capture the 5 minutes. The system battery shall last at least 18 hours on one charge. The system cameras shall take less than 45 seconds to connect to. The system shall automatically send alerts on food recalls. That's probably a functional requirement. System shall ban their IP addresses from servers when recognized. That's a functional requirement. The system shall cancel checkout requests. That's a functional requirement. The system shall order customers to perform. That is a functional. The transfer from the system internal to the vehicle to the external device shall be complete by the time the car is stopped. That's probably a cross-functional. That's okay. So these ones are all functional. That one's okay. The system shall present to the user information based on ODB2 information. That's technical, but in this particular case, you probably do need to mention ODB2 as part of the requirements. That's you can't actually connect to the most cars without that ODB2 interface being in the works somewhere. The system shall not impede the car by the devices transferring data. Okay, so what I want you to do now is I want you to go to, do I have it? I don't have it up there. Where's the capstone materials? And there is a, no, not the YouTube one. There's a Lucid Spark board. And what I've done is I've taken all of those requirements and I've put them on one sticky per requirement. and they're all there. And what I want you to do now for a little while is so there's lots of them, right? And let's just zoom out a little bit so we can see all of them, right? So there's lots. Now I've forgotten which way around it was. I think the purple ones are what you came in as with functional requirements, and the green ones are the ones that came in from you as cross-functional. There's a few things I want you to do. I want you to see if you can find a cross-functional requirement that is actually a functional requirement and change the color from green to purple. And the other thing is, and I don't know the best way to, yeah, thank you for the smiley face. I like the smiley face. Smiley faces are good. What I want you to do is, why don't we do this? I'm trying to figure out the right way to do it, because getting everybody to do it at once might be a little bit of a mess. So what I'm going to suggest is I'm going to select one of them, and I'm going to move it to another part of the board, and I'm going to get everybody in the list one by one to take another sticky note, and either put it close to the one I put up, or start another one if it's different. Okay, so I'm going to select this one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change its color once I do to just the standard yellow. Okay, so there's a yellow one. The system shall take pictures and videos. Now, next on the list, Anthony, can you select any of the post-it notes and either put it beside that one if you think it's similar to it, like if it involves pictures and stuff, or put it somewhere else if it is different. So just choose one, and the system shall reduce traffic. Okay, that's all right. So I'm just going to, that's a little different, so I'm going to use a different color. Okay, so next up on the list is Bright. Bright, can you select one of the, any one of the post-its and move it up to the top, and either put it next to one of the two other ones that we've changed the color of, or start a third block.
I'm having problem trying to get into it, so if you can give me time.
Okay, I'll come back to you. So Eric, can you find a post-it note and move it up to the top, and either put it next to one of the two existing ones, or okay, you've moved it up there. Okay, the system shall be able to connect to the internet via Ethernet. Okay, let me just change that one to yet another different color. Okay, and this is Fahim, you're next. Yeah, so the system shall be able to run off a rechargeable battery. Okay, that's a bit different. Yeah, that'll do. So I'm just going to change it to another color, and I might just move that one over. Thank you, Fahim. Kyle Fields, can you choose one and move it up?
Hello?
Yeah, hi.
Hi, I'm having a hard time trying to access this.
Okay, this is Michael.
Where
Yeah.
is it under?
Sorry?
Like, where is it under?
So if you go to the Capstone Materials chat, it's not the last link, it's the second last link from today's. Let me copy it and I'll send it directly to you, Michael.
Please.
Okay, so who was I? Where was I up to? Sorry.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Kyle Bechtold, did you put one up? Okay. The system shall have 2 cameras which allow pictures to be taken of inventory. Okay, that's a related one. That's good. I'll go with there. The system shall reduce wasted time. Okay, very good. So you all seem to get the idea. I might just let you keep going at it. So please, Michael Federick, Michael Gallagher, and Michael Poloka. Oh, I didn't realise we had 3 Michaels. Okay, if you can just choose one and move it to an appropriate area. If you think it's different from the existing ones, then change the colour to something different. And I will be right back. Okay, how are we going? I've still got quite a few to go. I might help out too. So you go up, I'll go down, Bright.
These are pretty long. I have to like zoom in 125%.
Yeah, some of them are. Yeah, I don't know whether that one actually belongs there. That's more of an aesthetic one. Inventory. think that's actually a picture one. Fly. System shall work off rechargeable batteries. Okay, so we're getting there. Installability. See, some of these are very generic, right? Installable on a... I'm moving the generic ones over here, and I might...
I sort of have that as the light gray column,
yeah,
or the light green.
the light green, is that it? Oh, okay. Yeah, we could do that. Yeah, that makes sense. So I'll just change it to light green. That one. Yeah. So you can see that there is a bit of clustering in some of them. The light green ones are maybe a little all over the place. And some of them are very specific to the, those two, for example, are very specific to, let's not use blue. I think I've just about run out of colours. I'll use, those two are very specific to the ODB2 one. And maybe the virtual machine one can come over here as well, into the light green. Oops, wrong green. That green.
I'm just going to condense the light column, or the light green column.
Yeah, go for it. Okay, I think we're getting organised. Okay, I think we're just about there. Let's move some of these other ones up. Okay, so if we can just leave it there, I just want to try doing one thing. Okay, sorry about that. I just reorganized everything on you. Okay, so that's what it's looking like at the moment. If you want to move them around.
I was trying to make it look all neat too.
That's okay. So, and Lucid tells me that they're working on a version of that grouping, automatic grouping. This is just based on the color of the stickies, but they're working on a version that uses a little bit of AI, or at least natural language processing, and actually groups them based on what's in each of the text on each of the stickies. So I'll be interested to try that out. Okay, so we've got some groupings, right? Obviously, this light green one is can I change the name? There we go. This is a network, right? That's network centric, or network protection. Yeah, and those ones are a little vague. Okay, the light green ones. This one's a little bit all over the place. There's a lot of stuff about charging, and there's other stuff that maybe isn't relevant. I think I started making it to be power related, but for example, that one, it's just so I started making it with power and rechargeable batteries. That's a detection and sensors and parking spaces empty. Yeah, I don't know. There's a battery one. There's an alert one, right? So, and that one there's an alert one, right? Those two are alerts. And that's an alert one. Reminders is an alert one. Inventory, that's probably an alert one too. Oh, okay. So I probably, and then the system, that's an alert one. So those ones are probably alerts as well. Let's just see if we can't. I've forgotten what, maybe the bright pink one? These are all about alerts as far as I can tell. Oh, you can do that? Okay. You change them all? No?
I did on my screen. For some reason, it doesn't update for you.
Okay. Can everybody see that, or see that on your screen? Okay. The system shall keep an inventory of processed food. The system shall send information to an external device. The system shall prevent checkout scalpers. Okay. What's the yellow one? The system shall only record. So this system shall take. This is about video and media, right? That's primarily what it's about, either the recording or maybe the set checkout security isn't necessarily right. Upgradable features. System shall be able to turn on a light. So I'm wondering whether these pink ones, the system shall be able to tell the difference between a small animal system. I don't know about whether that one works in there, but I'm thinking that maybe these ones do, and making this one an alert.
So under the media, there's the system shall be able to fly for a minimum of 10 minutes. I don't think that should be there.
Okay, so I think that's probably a power or a duration one. So maybe move it over to the blue column. Change its color there. Yeah.
Okay.
So what did I say? These are about alerts, or notifications. That's about that's really the ODB2 one. And that one's so. Yes, I think we need to have stuff about networking, but I think that's just about every one of our suggested things, right? So I think to me the three things we've got. Let me retract that. The two things we've got as projects, I think, are the network protection of some description, and there's a lot you can do in network protection, right? And then the other one is maybe there are three. The other one is the ODB2 project, and it's not coming out as clearly as maybe it should in the way I've grouped them, or we've grouped them. But I think the parking garage one is also a key thing. The only trouble with those three projects is now there's a home protection or a home. Yeah, does that? Let me just write that down. Right, so I'm just going to go back to my. Right, so I'm just going to draw down the bottom here. So let's just see what we've got. We've got a network security. Of some description, and like I said, there's a lot in that. There's the ODB2 one. There's the parking one. And then there's the home security. And I realize it's not actually home security, but I include the fridge inventory system in that home security piece, right? I think there's, for example, you could think about having the system, the home security system, link into something to do with the fridge, right? Because I don't know about you. This week on Tuesday I lost power at about 4:30 a.m. until about 9 p.m. Thankfully, my freezer and everything kept okay, but part of home security, I think, is food security as far as the temperature, certainly in the freezer, is concerned. which you may want to think about. Okay. Has anybody got any questions about what we've just done, and particularly about shall statements? I tried before we did this exercise to get you to think about, or to tell you give you brief feedback on the requirements, functional requirements versus the cross-functional requirements. And I hope that's a little bit clearer. What I'd like you to do now is, given what we've just talked about and given this exercise, if you wouldn't mind having another go at the requirements and for next week, because I would like to think about figuring out what projects. Well, we have to do a down select next week. Now, the aim is to find 3 or 4 projects. That's what I just had up there. There are 4 projects. I think of those 4, I think the weakest one, or the one with the least traction so far, is the ODB2 one. Right? I think there's a lot of traction for the network security one. I think there's a lot of traction for home security of some description, maybe not just, maybe not specific drone or specific other stuff, but there's traction. And then I think the parking one had a reasonable amount of traction as well. Yeah, does anybody have any questions about what we've done? Anthony, what are your thoughts now on what you want to do as a project?
I mean, I'm still pretty split. If I'm going to be completely honest.
That's okay. Bright, how about you? What are your thoughts?
About my project, or
About
projects in general?
projects in general. I mean, is there anything that's changing what you think about your project, or maybe if something about another project stands out?
Yeah, I mean, so far my project, I think there's more that I can do with it. There's more things that I can add to, but as time goes on, I think looking at other projects, I think we can. I don't know.
Well, I mean, see, one of the reasons I'm doing this is making sure everybody understands everybody else's project. Is I still want you to do something that's interesting for you as an individual, right? And the aim is to find projects that have the scope to let you do mostly what you wanted to do anyway, but within a sort of maybe a slightly different goal from what you thought. Okay?
Okay.
Eric, how about you? Eric, you got any thoughts?
I mean, I still like my project idea. I was pretty confident in it. I do like the fridge one and the parking space one too. Those are kind of sticking out to me.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, I mean, I think there's lots of good ideas, and the tragedy is there's usually, if there's 10 people in the class, there's usually 10 good ideas, and unfortunately we don't have the bandwidth to produce something on all 10.
Yeah.
Right. So, okay, Fahim, how about you? Any thoughts? You're muted, or are you away?
Hello, I'm sorry. I'm on my screen. I can see my microphone. I'm confident with my project. I think that's what I'm thinking from day one.
Yeah, I mean,
But
you go ahead.
there is another interesting project from the group they post. As some other interesting project. But right now, like I'm thinking in mine, as is considered as a project to my we backup. So I'm thinking about to continue in the project I choose.
Yeah, I mean, I think your project, I think, has maybe the most well thought out. The only thing I would say is, as I gave you feedback both in class and through Blackboard, you need to be a bit more specific about some of the goals. I agree that the things you said are what you're aiming to achieve with the project, but the question is, what is the system going to do to make that happen? And that's not as clear to me yet. Okay, Jacob, any thoughts?
I actually very enjoyed the smart TV as no, that's not smart TV. The refrigerator actually as well. I thought that was a really cool idea as well. Also,
Like I said, I like the idea because of that haiku thing. And I'll try and find the link. I think maybe the website's
yeah,
still there.
I thought the whole idea process of like knowing with the touch of an app just to know what's in your fridge. I thought that was a cool idea. Actually, I didn't think of that concept ever.
Yeah, no, it's a good idea. Kyle Fields, any thoughts?
Yeah, I need to make mine more concise. I kind of, when I wrote it in, I kind of thought like a short essay, and I think that was the wrong way to go about it.
Right. So that's what requirements are written in a very non-standard form of English, right? They've got to be terse. They've got to be in active voice, and they've got to be very specific. And most people are not used to speaking or writing that way. So it's almost like writing down legal documents, right? You've got to be. It does take a while to get used to writing that way. Okay.
Yeah.
Carl Bechtold, any thoughts?
Yeah, my project, like the honey pot, it's kind of generic, kind of boring right now. Maybe if I could flesh it out more and figure out something, I could pursue that more. But I would say my top three for out of all the projects, in no particular order, would be the security drone, the fridge sensor, and the parking sensor. I think all three of those are solid ideas that have a lot of potential.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think I probably should have included in my list the drone. I think that's a pretty cool idea, but it's part of the security piece, I think. Okay, thank you. Michael Frederick?
Yeah. So I do like the other ideas, but I do have to stay faithful with mine, the drone project. I feel like there's potential in it, so yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I think yours and Fahim's are sort of two of the better thought out or maybe better expressed, I don't know, ideas, because they're quite specific, but they've got enough scope to be a year-long project for 3 or 4 people, right? Or 2, 3 or 4 people. And whereas some of the others, they're a bit too vague, and you could certainly take the time, but what you get out of it isn't as clear. But yeah, that was a good one. Michael Gallagher, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think I can probably just specify my project a little bit more. I like some of the other ideas. I liked I know it's not one of the main ones, but I like the one with the software against like scalpers and like botting programs and stuff.
Yeah, Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Yeah, I've definitely dealt with that too in the past, so definitely has some knowledge in it. But I think if I go forward with my project now, I just have to or what's it called, narrow it down a little bit.
Mm-hmm. That's okay. And Michael Paloka, how about you? Any thoughts? No? Oh, there we go. I can't hear anything. That better?
Yeah, Mike, we can't hear you.
Yeah. You've unmuted now, but I can't hear anything. Okay. Yeah, before each class I tend to shut down all of my messaging apps and just keep the one that I'm using at Discord for this course and Zoom for my Fairfield courses, because otherwise something usually takes over the microphone and stops me being able to broadcast. Okay, let's leave it there unless Michael's figured out the microphone issue. Okay, so I hope that was at least a little bit useful for two things. One, just feedback on requirements. I felt giving feedback into the whole class about everybody's requirements was a better thing to do than maybe doing it individually. I'll still go through and grade all the individual ones just so that you've got specific feedback. They all came in after I clocked out last night, or this morning, and I didn't have time to grade them this morning. I just had time to cut and paste them into PowerPoint and here onto the board. But I think there's plenty of stuff we can do. The generic stuff, media and alerts and power, they're what do you call it? They're certainly applicable to a lot of the projects, right? The thing is to try and figure out the top level aim of the project, and that's why I pulled out those four on the other screen. But there's certainly stuff that is applicable across a wide array of different things, and that's where the power, the media, and the alerts, they're all quite agnostic as far as what the project is actually trying to do. Okay, I'm pretty much done. Does anybody have any questions? Like I said, if you can have another go at the shall statements for your project, just based on all the feedback you've heard today, that would be good. And we can go from there. Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
No, thank you. No, thank you, Professor.
Yeah.
Have a good weekend.
Yeah, you too. Have a good weekend, everybody.
You too.